Thanks so much for picking me up, Mr. Coleman.
Mr. Coleman? Please, just call me Frank. We're colleagues now, after all.
Well, okay, Frank. Thanks so much for making time for me on Labor Day.
No problem, Meredith. Postal workers always have each other's back. Your dad helped me dozens of times whenever I was in a bit of a pickle.
Well, I hope I can fill his shoes. He hardly ever missed a day.
I'm sure you'll do great. You know what? While we're en route, why don't we deliver some mail in our beautiful little lake town?
And show me the ropes? Sure.
All right then, get ready to roll.
A few months ago, I did a first impressions video on 2 games, Sable and Lake. Both games were expected to release in September, and Lake dropped earlier than Sable, which is coming out later this month. I was intrigued by Lake's premise. You play as Meredith Weiss, a middle-aged computer programmer who takes a break from her day job to spend 2 weeks at her hometown, Providence Oaks, to take over her father's job as a mail person while he goes on vacation with her mother. Now, considering my typical taste in games, you wouldn't necessarily think that this would be up my alley. But this is up my alley.
I'm actually enjoying this.
I like the idea of a low-stakes, chill-out game where you cruise around town and converse with folks, and choose how much you want to get involved with that town and its inhabitants. So how is Lake? Well, I like it, but I don't think it'll be anything more than a sleeper hit, to be honest. In my first impressions video, I described Lake's structure as something akin to a modern-era Persona, where time is broken up into individual days, which are further broken up into parts of the day, such as the morning, afternoon, and evening. Every morning starts with Meredith tasked with delivering a series of letters and packages throughout the map. The layout of Providence Oaks surrounds a fairly large lake. And Meredith only moves about as fast as a turtle, and maybe a little faster when you hold down the sprint button. Look, man, when you're getting up there in your age, you can't risk spraining your ankle by breaking into a full-on dash. Luckily, the post office provides a means of travel for Meredith in the form of her mail truck, or the Goose as one of the townsfolk affectionately calls it.
The Goose?
Yes, your white and wobbly van, duh. I'm Lori, I'm Providence Oaks' mechanic. And I'm the one who keeps the Goose running. My father has been teaching me since the day I was born. There is no one better in PO than me.
P.O.? Oh! The tutorial sums up the core gameplay. If an address has mail, you walk up to its mailbox and press the action button to initiate the mail delivery animation. If an address has a package, that takes a little more work. You gotta walk to the back of the Goose and open up the hatch. From there, you select the package with the matching address and deliver it to the house's doorstep. Sometimes people open the door to receive packages, but most of the time, you only need to place the package at the doorstep to complete the delivery. If you need help planning a route around your deliveries, you can press right bumper to open up the map and mark waypoints to help you out. A new and welcome feature that the release version added is the ability to activate autopilot on addresses with packages. It takes the game a bit to load the action, but you can let the Goose take you to that address while you admire the scenery. You still need to drive to addresses that only need mail, though. As you make deliveries, Meredith will occasionally make little asides about the kind of mail she's delivering or about the people receiving the mail. They give her some personality, but after the first week, you've heard them all. Sometimes, you'll make a delivery to an address to one of the townsfolk who will ask you to do a favor while you continue with your route. You can accept or deny their requests, and accepting tasks will make characters like you more. It's not so obvious as a Telltale adventure game where a notice pops up telling you that they will remember this, but I think it factors into how they approach you at the end of the game. Originally, I'd planned on playing Lake twice and covering 2 vastly different paths. One path would have Meredith willingly put herself out there and engage with the townsfolk and take any tasks offered, so long as they didn't conflict with prior engagements. This would be the good girl Meredith path. The second path would have had Meredith doing her best to avoid interacting with anyone whenever possible, and have her complain about how much she hated being in P.O. This would have been the scumbag Meredith path. But after the end of the second week, when every choice had come together to craft a unique story for my Meredith, I didn't want to change a thing. Instead, I'll give a brief rundown of how my time at Providence Oaks went. During the tutorial, you're brought around P.O. by Frank, your dad's coworker. He's a nice enough guy, but as the weeks progress, his dirty laundry starts getting aired out at work.
Hi, Meredith. I just wanted to let you know that Dad and I landed safely. The Florida weather is all they said it would be. I'll call again soon. One more thing. The freezer's stuffed with food, and there's blueberry pie in the fridge. Bye.
When you reach home, Meredith listens to a couple of messages on her folks' answering machine. Who Meredith ends up talking to on the phone varies over the weeks, but it's another means by which Meredith can set up appointments that she can check in her agenda by pressing left bumper. On the first day, Meredith meets most of the cast in town. The closest stop from the post office is the general store. There's not much to do here other than look at the various knockoff brands on the store shelves, which the store owner, Nancy, likes to point out. She's a real bundle of joy.
New in town. Your face looks familiar.
Well, I grew up here and then left for college 22 years ago.
22 years ago, back when they called me Nancy Sinatra instead of Nancy Reagan. So now you're back, huh? I know what it's like.
You do?
It's best not to feel bad about it. Only a few people ever really make it.
After the general store, it's up to you how you want to drive around town, but I typically start by going to Moe's first, as it's out of the way from the rest of the stops, so it's easy to drop the package and double back.
And there's Stan's Diner. Wait, it's called Moe's Diner now?
Meredith Wise? As I live and breathe. Come here, hon. Now, let me look at you. My, oh my.
Moe's is a 50s-era diner owned and operated by Maureen, a longtime friend of Meredith's. She took over the diner after her husband Stan passed away a few years back. Maureen is very motherly towards Meredith, and never judges her on what she says or does. My only complaint about Maureen, and this is an issue with the game in general, is that the limited character animation is most obvious with her, as the transitions between her speaking to Meredith and turning around to shout at the line cook are practically non-existent, and it causes jump cuts in the cutscenes.
Oh, you know me too well, Maureen.
Always have, always will. Ashley, one blueberry pie.
Making our way back towards the post office, we can go further west and eventually run into Mildred Jenkins. Initially, she seems like a lot, but I like how her path worked out in my run. For now, we gotta deal with her inability to remember our name and her extremely thin skin.
You do remember me, don't you?
How could I forget Miss Mildred Jenkins? And her cats, of course. Seems like they've multiplied.
Yes, I do like cats. Is that such a crime? So what if I have slightly more of them than I used to?
Driving further west takes us to the only auto shop in town. The girl tinkering with the car is Lori, and she's the closest thing this game has to a Zoomer in 1986. She's apparently a child prodigy when it comes to cars, and christens the mail truck the Goose. Lori's nice enough to tell us that the radio works. You can toggle the radio by pressing Y. I'm pretty sure there was only one station in the demo, and I didn't bother checking if the full game added more stations. You'll either love the country music that keeps you company on the road, or learn to enjoy the ambient music that plays without the radio. The last notable person we'll meet today is Robert the Lumberjack.
I am here to deliver mail, and I come in peace. I'm Meredith.
Thank you. I'm Robert. I hope the peace will be everlasting. Let's see what's inside. Oh, what the
That doesn't sound good.
crap? That's what it sounds like. Bull crap. Freshly baked bull crap.
Hey, the sound can't be worse than the smell.
I'm sorry, but I have to take a better look at this. Have a nice day.
Seems like he's got some stuff going on, with how quickly he shuts down Meredith's game. Once we've completed the day's work, we return the Goose back to the post office and go back home.
Hello?
Hi, Meredith. It's Mom. How are you? How's the job?
Meredith's mom checks in from Florida, and this is the first time that the game touches base with how the player feels about the game. Meredith's responses aren't the most nuanced, but they do provide a chance for you as a player to put yourself in her shoes and think about how a 40-something programmer would really feel about delivering mail in her old hometown as a getaway from her grueling day job. For me, my long-term goal was for Meredith to hook up with Robert and get his log rolling. Tuesday starts about the same, but now we meet the rest of the cast. With the radio on, we can hear the daily news from the local DJ. He's got a bit every morning called the PO Positive or Pet Peeve, where the townsfolk can call in and say something nice about living in Providence Oaks, or complain about any old thing. It's a cute way of giving more personality to the cast in a remote sort of way. The first notable person we meet is Angie. She runs the Flick Shack, the only video store in PO. Just like the general store, much of the fun here comes from the knockoff titles that the devs came up with to stock the shelves. The weird thing about that bit is that characters will reference actual movie titles instead of the knockoff titles. It's a little goofy at first, but I got over it. Angie runs the risk of being the most like a Life is Strange character. She's hyper, quippy, and likes to flex her kinophile tastes on people during conversations.
Most of the people here don't really appreciate the art of classic cinema. They just want to see Police Academy again.
You're selling them short.
Maybe. Just wish I wasn't the only movie buff around.
Somehow Meredith's lame sense of humor tempers her for me.
You know, you don't really look the part of a computer nerd either.
I contain multitudes. That's Walt Whitman, by the way. Not a movie, so I don't expect you to know.
Ooh, touche returned.
After Angie, Meredith delivers a package to another old friend of hers, Kay.
Package for the Evans family?
Just a minute. Commander Grace, permission to explore?
Permission granted.
Yep, we're the Evans family. Could I just take that real quick? I'm kind of in the middle of a lunar landing.
Sure. Here you go. Nice helmet, by the way.
Why, thank you. I actually modeled it on the Apollo 11 crew outfit. Wait, what? Meredith?
Buzz Aldrin? I'm sorry. Who are you?
What, for real? You don't recognize your old best friend when you see her?
Wait a minute. Kay?
Great, and now I busted my colander. I knew opening the door in this thing was a bad idea.
Kay and Meredith used to be the best of friends before Meredith left for Massachusetts. Meredith learns early on that a lot happened to Kay in 22 years, and you can affect how comfortable or uncomfortable the reunion is. Kay's Uncle Stan is Maureen's late husband, and you'll learn from Maureen that his passing took its toll on Kay. Back in the route, we run into Mildred again, and she's asking Meredith to take one of her cats over to Bert. Bert runs a bait shop and fishing trawler, and he's as salty as the water he sails on, but has a soft spot for Mildred and her cats. The last person on today's route is Matt.
It's the mail.
I'm busy.
Aren't we all?
No! Damn it! I almost had it. I almost fucking had it. Thanks for breaking my concentration.
You're welcome.
Video games are supposed to be fun. I feel horrible. Absolutely horrible.
Maybe you should try a different hobby.
You know what? I can beat this damn game, and I'm not quitting until I have.
Good luck with that.
Matt is low-key my favorite character. On the surface, he seems like a cheap shot against gamers, which he is, but he's a cheap shot against a certain type of gamer. Matt is one of those guys who should never be exposed to Stepmania. The kind of guy who definitely would not vibe with a game as slow-paced and low-stakes as Lake. Technically, I should relate to Matt based on my typical tastes, but I can totally appreciate a chill-out game like Lake that isn't about min-maxing my stats or 1cc'ing a run, so I can chuckle at the goblin whenever I see him gaming. Also, I'm pretty sure the motel that he works at is a reference to the one in Twin Peaks, where Leland is porking Catherine, while Coop and the gang bust one-arm Mike.
Meredith, hi!
Oh, hi, Steve. How are you?
Busy as two peas. Added 87 is really getting there. Hey, listen, you got plenty of time, right?
I guess, but that's nice for a change.
Awesome, I need a favor. I sent a bunch of files your way. It's the retail pitch for Added 87. It's good, but not great. It needs your magic. Do you think you can add it? Huh?
Nice one, Steve. When will the files arrive, and when do you need the feedback?
Ah, well, it should arrive tomorrow, and I need it yesterday. I could just send it to your post office, right?
Yep, can't miss.
Awesome. Mail it back to me as soon as possible. Priority mail. Thanks so much. Oh, I gotta run.
Okay, Steve.
Oh, one final thing. Now let this marinate. Add it, 87, add anything you like. It's fancy, right? Yeah, don't tell me now. I got a jet. Bye.
In the evening, Meredith's boss Steve calls in to check on her, and also to ask her to do some work during her vacation. There's no dancing around it. Steve's a shitty boss. He's that guy who pats you on the back and tells you how important you are to the company, but all he's doing is taking full advantage of your time and effort. He's a constant reminder of why Meredith took some time away from her job in the first place. The rest of the game has Meredith interacting with these and other various characters. I said before that Angie is dangerously close to being a Life is Strange character, and Kay is as well. But I'm okay with their quirkiness because they're middle-aged adults written by ostensibly middle-aged writers. It doesn't feel like a bunch of dads trying to mimic their teenage daughter's slang, and the awkward deliveries tend to dovetail nicely with how everyone seems to be tripping over themselves while trying to establish rapport with each other. In my preview video, I liken Lake's premise to being something like Under the Tuscan Sun, but in Oregon. After completing the game, it's more like playing one of those Hallmark Channel TV movies. Workaholic woman moves to a small town and learns to love the simple life as well as the rugged men who seem to inhabit these small towns. Despite the David Lynch references and teases, there isn't really any twist that pulls out the rug from under you. What you see is what you get with Lake. It's not entirely predictable, as a few twists in the plot caught me off guard.
I think we know what that creepy Frank Booth character would be thinking right about now.
Funnily enough, this opportunity happens after the two go out to see a movie, and one of the choices was Blue Velvet. So I'd like to think they got all hot and bothered after seeing this scene.
Baby wants to fuck. Get ready to fuck! You fuckers fucker!
This definitely puts a damper into my attempts at getting into Robert's Jordashes. It's so weird how Lake seems like it has the potential to have some horror elements, but never indulges in it, because there are deliveries that take you way out into the boonies that always put me on edge, especially when I had to deliver what looked like a chainsaw to an abandoned cabin. By the time the first Sunday rolls around, Meredith is working on another diary entry and sums up her feelings about the town and people at the moment. Can't say for sure how much this changes based on your choices, but I feel like it's one of those moments that's designed to provide feedback to how the player as Meredith perceives the experience. It's pretty clear that you get more out of the game based on how much you put into it. Week 2 is more the same with some added wrinkles. Lake is very good at making it feel like you're going to be overwhelmed with all the favors you picked up throughout the week, but never really becomes overwhelming. In terms of stakes, it reminds me of Valhalla, which could have had you worry about time constraints and serving a minimum number of patrons in a given day, like a Papers, Please type simulation. But it's more focused on the social aspects of bartending. The mixing of drinks is there for you to do something, while hearing these people opine about their lives, much like how delivering the mail in Lake is there for you to do something to get Meredith to this or that person's address and converse with them. By the end of the week, a big event happens at Moe's, and the entire town comes together to talk to Meredith one last time. Again, I'm not sure how much differently it plays out for every permutation, but I'll leave that up to you if you want to see what this game is about. In my run, I didn't end up with Angie, but I did manage to snag Robert at the end, so we stand a bisexual queen. Would I recommend Lake? Yeah, I enjoyed my time at PO, but you gotta know going in that the core loop is very repetitive and mundane, and I think that's by design. Being a male person isn't the most exciting of callings, but I like seeing how my Meredith could bring the town closer together simply by driving around and delivering mail. Initially, I thought that the game could have done some more with the characters if it had a month to work with instead of 2 weeks, but those last 2 days really did a lot to change my opinion. I have to be honest though, this game is nowhere near perfect. Back in the demo, and I swear, before a patch that followed closely after its Labor Day release, I had controller issues where the game wouldn't read the inputs on my triggers, but those seem to be working now. I mentioned earlier that some of the transitions between shots are practically non-existent, and that's something that never goes away in the game. And the animations can feel really stiff or missing at times. I like the painted plastic doll aesthetic that the game is going for, but the minimal animations tend to make the characters look like Leisure Suit Larry NPCs. I feel bad for saying that, as I know Gamius is a small team, and doing believable moving holds with 3D models is hard compared to holding frames in traditional 2D animation, but it is something that could take away from the game's immersion for some. Also, just to point this out in the tutorial cutscene, it looks like the wheels in the goose aren't spinning, and it reminded me of the Japari bus in the intro to the first season of Kimono Friends opening, but when I checked the wheels during gameplay, they actually were turning. I thought they just looked like they weren't because the wheels are completely black and it made it hard to see them spin, but now I'm not so sure anymore. But I like Lake despite these technical shortcomings. If I can look past all of Deadly Premonition's flaws and resonate with moments such as these, then I can do the same with Lake, and I hope you can as well. Please play Lake, but only if you like what you see in the demo.
Sorry for butting in, folks, but I've got a special treat for y'all. I just updated my playlist.